All right, and welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, May 10th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, quickly, we'll run through what we're going to talk about for today. So, we're going to start off the show, talk about the NFC North, do some post-draft power rankings, rank the four teams within that division, then some overall thoughts on the NFL draft, and then I'll get into Jared Goff talking about his contract situation and how the Lions want to make it a priority to, sign him to a long-term deal. And then I'll talk about Joe Burrow and his comments on T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, talking about their contract situations. But for the first two segments, I am joined by two special guests. We have Manny, the host of the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, and I had him on my show. Or no, it was the other way around. Sorry, I apologize for that. I was on his show not too long ago, and we also have Emran, the host of the GSMC Soccer Podcast. So, guys, welcome to the show. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, Kenneth. Thanks for having us on here today.
Oh, Emran, we can't hear you.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yep, good to go. All right, yeah. So, I don't know who wants to start ranking these four teams here. I figured since you guys are the guest, if one of you guys wants to start, go ahead. Give your overall thoughts on not just like with their drafts, but like the kind of off season that these teams had. I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first.
I could start. I guess ranking them overall, I would probably keep the Lions at first, then the Packers, then Lions, Packers. Then I'm gonna go Vikings, then the Bears. Just overall, I think the Lions still top to bottom. I've seen their roster do it. They have the talent to compete with any of them. I like what they did in the offseason there, like you mentioned, Kenneth. Just bringing back the majority of their guys and really re-signing AmonRaSt.Brown. I think that was the biggest thing for them, trying to get that out of the way. They paid him pretty well, so getting that all out of the way and their draft as well, bringing in Terrion Arnold, who I thought was probably the best corner in the draft. Where they got him, I think was huge as and addressing it in the second round as well. Top to bottom, they were pretty well built. And then just overall running through the other teams, the Packers surprised a lot of people. I like what they're doing. Bringing in Josh Jacobs was huge, and just the young talent that they have is pretty nicely stacked up in that division. And then just the Vikings, you don't really know what to expect too much out of them, just with the new quarterback and how that's going to play out. But talent wise as well on offense, I think they can compete with any of them. And similarly with the Bears, just a lot of new pieces in there. A lot. I don't think I'm blanking on his name. Ryan Poles gets enough credit for really building up that roster through trades. Caleb Williams bringing him in, Rome Odunze, and DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen. How it all gets pieced together, I think is going to be important. But just looking at it on paper, how it stacks up with everybody else, it still has to be played out. But just keeping them last, just for the inexperience and how they've been over the last few seasons, I think those are like my rankings for the NFC North.
All right, Emran,
Uh,
what about you?
First of all, I gotta say, I think all of four of these teams had a great offseason, and they're all teams. If they were in other divisions, they'll all be teams that are like playoff contenders. With all of them being bunched in together, it makes it a little bit difficult, makes it a little awkward. But I think these are four teams that are really on the upward trajectory. I'm gonna have to go to Green Bay first. Just because of the way that they ended last season, the youth in that team, I believe the average age was a little bit less than 24, young quarterback, young receivers, and what they were able to do, and not only the fact that they even struggled at the beginning of the season, but they did what young teams do. They steadily progressed throughout the regular season, and to have the playoffs that they have, being so close to a potential NFC championship against the Lions, I just think all these young guys that they have that steadily improved throughout the season are going to take it to the next level. And then I like last year, what was their weakness defensively, and I like what they did defensively. And they brought in Xavier McKinney. They brought in Javon Bullard, and Jaron Cooper, the linebacker, and then they upgraded our running back along next to Jordan Love, who I think is really gonna take the next step. So I have them
I agree.
first.
I agree.
So, and then I'll go Detroit second because you have to respect what Detroit did last season in reaching the NFC Championship game. They also brought in they drafted Terrion Arnold, great addition. Brought in Marcus Davenport, Carlton Davis, um, and the main thing also was, are they able to resign? What's the situations, the offseason situations of Jared Goff and Amon-Ra? And it's looking like they're taking care of that. They're cleaning that up. They're a very well coached team. I think defensively they're going to be better with the additions of Terry and Arnold, especially the secondary. So I really still think Detroit is a legit team, and I only have them second just because of the rise I see with the Packers. I'm gonna go with the Bears third. First of all, there was a question mark whether or not they should do this Justin Fields, Caleb Williams thing. I think absolutely the right decision to take that kind of player. I think Justin Fields had a ceiling that Caleb Williams doesn't. First of all, I just want to go there. Second, all these teams, once they get a young quarterback, it takes them a year or two to get that superstar next to him, superstar playmaker next to him. When you look at Jalen Hurts, it took them a few years to get A.J. Brown next to him. Kyler Murray, it took them that second year to get DeAndre Hopkins. Well, Caleb Williams is walking into a wide receiver core of Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Romeo Odunze, who I believe is going to be a star wide receiver. So I think and they also signed Gerald Everett. So I think that's and DeAndre Swift. Wow, they really signed a
Yeah,
core
no,
of
they did a lot. They did a lot.
weapons. And they surrounded Caleb Williams perfectly, in my opinion. Defensively, I thought they were very strong last season, especially last season. If you look at last season, not to the extent that Green Bay did, because Green Bay ended up making the playoffs, but they started off really, really bad last season, and they ended up with I think they were 8-8 or 8-9
I
or
think
something,
I think they finished. I want to say 7-10.
or 7-10. But they did that. They
Yeah,
did
no,
that
they
with
did play better
a
towards the
a
end of
few
last year.
games that
Yeah.
could have went the other way. I remember the Cleveland game, and they were kind of on an upward trajectory even
Yeah,
last
they could
year.
have beat Cleveland. They were up by
Yeah,
10.
they could have beat Cleveland. There was multiple games that I was like they could have been
Detroit too in
Detroit.
Detroit
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah, no. They had a good end of the season. Um um Whether or not Matt Eberflus is the guy, we're gonna kind of figure out really quickly this season.
Yeah.
But no, I really love what they were able to do defensively through the stretch of last season, and the offensive weapons that they added. Yeah, this team is amazing. Not amazing, but they're like in a good position. And then I put Minnesota last. They're not last in my opinion because still think they have a good offseason in the way they kind of, you know, I wouldn't say restarted, but the way that they like smoothed over, they transitioned, bringing in J.J.McCarthy, Sam Darnold as a potential bridge, some of the moves that they made, some of the moves to get rid of these bigger contract players like a Daniil Hunter, letting Kirk Cousins walk. So I like what they did, and I think Kevin O'Connell is a brilliant, brilliant coach who has had a very good time in the NFL so far. So I have them last just because of the sheer uh, ability of Chicago to make the moves that they did, but I still think this is a team that also has a pretty good future.
Okay, yeah. So with mine, I have Detroit, the Packers, and then the Bears 3, Vikings 4. Now, I want to get your guys' thoughts on with the Bears and the Vikings now. So, we talked about Caleb Williams and Sam Darnold. We'll see if he ends up starting for the Vikings and they kind of ease J.J. McCarthy into it, because I don't know if they're just going to throw J.J. McCarthy right in and say, all right, go right ahead. I want to kind of get your thoughts on, I guess, on J.J. McCarthy, because I know he's a guy that we've talked about a lot, especially in the production meetings. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on like how you see him translating to the NFL. Is it going to work? I think he's in a good spot. He's in a very good situation because, like you said, Emran, Kevin O'Connell is a brilliant offensive-minded head coach, and the weapons that he has when he eventually does take over full time, if they decide to start Sam Darnold week one, I think he's in a great situation. I think also having Aaron Jones back there, a veteran running back that could take the pressure off of him, that can help him as well. So I think he's in a good situation, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, do you guys think that he will translate to the NFL, or is he going to be like? And I see comments like this on social media: a Zach Wilson 2.0. Are we gonna see that, or are we not gonna see that?
I mean, now just to give my thoughts on it, I think JJ, like you said, Kenneth, I think he's in a great spot, not only just because of the team and the talent around them, obviously with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, I think is a very good number two. I think it just translates very well with what he had in Michigan. A lot of times people don't think about the obvious transition with coaching and systems and learning a new sort of playbook and just getting that under your belt and knowing that, and then starting to really connect with these other guys. It is very similar now with Michigan and then coming to the Minnesota Vikings because he's coming into a system where he has great receivers, he has a great O line, a great running game as well there with Aaron Jones. I think that transition will be smoother than, say, if you went to, I don't know, it was rumored with the Giants, or if you went somewhere else like the Patriots. I think that would have been more difficult for him to learn, and I think it'll just make it easier for him to come in to have earlier success because all the weapons are around him. It seems like Kevin O'Connell really wanted him to be their quarterback. The feeling was mutual with him as well, and his transition will be easier. I think arm talent wise and just making all the throws. I think a lot of people don't give him the talent or the credit that he deserves there. I know he had a great team around him, but a lot of the times, especially in the playoffs against Alabama and against Washington, he made some pretty impressive throws. He went out of the pocket, extended plays, and got some crucial first downs. So I think athletically and just talent wise with his arm, I don't think people give him a lot of credit. And just physically, I think he's a lot bigger and has better intangibles than Kirk Cousins, who was there. Obviously, the age is a factor, but I think all of that will help him just get going a little bit faster. And then it just comes down to what they see in training camp and rookie mini camp and things like that. Compared to Sam Darnold, I think it'll be a good competition there, but I think it'll only be a matter of time before he starts for them there in Minnesota.
Emran, you got any thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for Kevin O'Connell to play whoever he thinks is ready week one.
Hmm.
That's number one.
Right.
Number two, I really do like the intangibles of J.J. McCarthy, almost more than the actual tangibles when it comes to the leadership, when it just comes to his overall clutchness as a player. I like that a little bit more than his just pure ability. Not saying he doesn't have an arm or anything, but he's a good quarterback. He can throw at multiple angles. He has velocity, and I think he has a good ability to read a defense. He doesn't have that many throws just in general, especially in the senior season, because of the way that Michigan plays football. But I'm not here to blame him. We can only scout what we see, and no, I'm very interested to see whether or not he works out in the NFL. Out of all the quarterbacks, this is the one I'm kind of uh uh,
Yeah, it's
uh
kind of just like a wait and see approach. Because with
yeah.
Caleb Williams, like, you hear everyone just talk very highly of him. His teammates are talking very highly of him. So, and he's the number one overall pick. So, you got him, and then you got J.J. McCarthy, who it's just like there's a lot of. I see a lot more negative than positive because of just the school he went to and what he was asked to do. I mean, you watch the national championship game, and Michigan, all they did was run the ball. But you know what? If it's working, why if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So like
Even
I
even
do
throughout the
understand that.
season, even throughout the regular season, that's all they did. They ran the
Yeah,
ball.
yeah. So for me, I'm not one of those people that's gonna be like one side or the other. I gotta actually like see him play in the NFL, and if he goes out there and plays really well, then all those naysayers are going to be wrong. But I think he's in a good situation, so I think he can succeed with the situation. And if that's not the case, well, then the Vikings have a problem. But because like we talked about, their roster is pretty good, and really all the rosters in this division are good. It's just we got to see these two rookie quarterbacks go out there and play well, because we saw Jordan Love, how he played towards the end of last year, and Jared Goff as well. Like, we know what we're getting out of them, but we got to see what we get out of these rookie quarterbacks here. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up with this segment here. We're gonna take our first break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the NFL draft. I want to get your guys' opinions on the draft when we come back, and that'll be the second segment. So, with that being said, stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.